Hi guys, welcome to the video. Today is a lovely one. So we are continuing the Floral Festival and we have 8 new wildflowers to sketch and to paint today. So you can see this is a long one. We last video we did 3 flowers. One was a garden flower and 2 were wildflowers, but today we're going to kind of do a whole video. I wasn't able to get it up by last week, but yeah, we will work on this, and then at the end I'll show you something that I'd like to do next week, kind of a bouquet like this but with some gilding and some like 3D elements, so I'm quite excited about that. Okay, so this is our 5th video in the Floral Festival installment, and we still haven't done, you can see the dogwoods there, the crown vetch is the little purple flower that we just saw, and I don't know, there's a couple of others, so here's the crown vetch, so we'll do those in some more upcoming videos, but the next one I just want to do something fun and this gilding, and then we'll do the Beatrix Potter one, and then we'll see, we might do another kind of installment of these kind of sketch and paint ones, maybe further on in the summer or towards the end of summer. But last week not last week, but the last video we did, this was part of that video, so really beautiful. I hope you guys like the way I've been doing it. You can let me know if the sketching is something I don't need to do. So I've done the little sketching portion again to begin with. It's such a beautiful little like meadow there, but yeah, so I'm not sure, like I've put it in again, but if it's something like I can take out, just let me know. That is completely fine. Otherwise, yep, the sketches are there, and it's just kind of to help us to look at these little flowers and just kind of start to think about drawing them and kind of ways to simplify them as well. So our poor azalea tree has, you could see in the last video some of the like black leaves, so they all have to be cut off and burned. It's quite a disease on it, so yeah, that's sad. That's going to be a bit of an effort, but yes, okay, so today's video we have 8 beautiful new flowers. The nice thing about looking more closely at flowers like this, it might be just a bunch that you find from your supermarket, it might be something that you got for a special occasion, but it's really nice to kind of look more closely and have a go sketching it. Now you might have, like in the last video I showed several different sketchbooks, so there's one where I just kind of sketch it out first, and it's just to kind of start to learn the shapes of those flowers. So what it does is start to help build that lexicon of what's available to you, like the different shapes of the petals. I'll show you kind of in one of the sketches today how these 2 flowers are very similar in size, but the flowers look nothing alike. And then you can see something like this little henbit. This is got so many details there, but if we can just look closely at it and kind of try and pick out some of those important features. And then once you kind of start to learn those important features, you can make them looser and more gestural, and yeah, just have them available to kind of pick from for different projects. Every time we use those, like the poultry herb mix you can get from the supermarket, I always wanted to sketch it. It's got like the rosemary and sage and something else, basil. But yeah, we end up using it for cooking. But again, something like that would be really nice to sit down with and sketch some of those herbs and things as well. So you can see here I'm just visually introducing all the flowers, and also this time we start to pair them with some of their leaves, some of their foliage as well. That's something that has, yeah, it's taken me quite a while to kind of warm up to that. So let me know if you want a full like leaf focused video as well. We kind of touch on it, but there's a lot more that could like be said about it, but I love, you can see here like when they start to dry and start to kind of curl different ways, and it's really nice to kind of see them like that, and you can paint them with a little bit of personality. So we're going to actually start with one of the more complicated ones. This is henbit. It's a weed, but also kind of can be used in herbal things. And you can see this little part of the flower, it's called a fairy horn. So you can actually blow through it and makes this tiny little like bugle sound. It's really nice. So yeah, it is a little bit more difficult. You can see we'll do the clover next, and that's a little bit like a simplified version of this. This is also reminding me a little bit of the wild bergamot, or the lemon bee balm. I had to call out for a bit of help there. So yeah, it's like a kind of a smaller version of that, but you could see like the little spikes there. And so first what we're going to do is just kind of look at the overall shape here. So it's almost a bit like a topiary tree. We've got these kind of rounded balls on top of each other, and then there's one kind of a smaller one there to the side as we go down. And so we're just kind of looking at that general shape because it is such a complicated flower. And so then kind of you can pull out, like this is the little fairy horn, so I've pulled that out to kind of look at the shape of that, like what does that sort of entail as far as you know, you can kind of see them poking out from the sides of the thing, but it's just nice to kind of have a little bit of a closer look at that, so you can kind of get the shape. And then I've just started putting in some of these kind of spiky areas. You can see that you could see on the flower that some of them had kind of 3 spikes, some of them had 1. There were little flowers around as well, so I put the bottom ones in and then put some of the flowers, and then kind of put some of these spikes around here as well. And again, just take your time. You can, you know, spend time sketching this. And then as we go down the flower, there's like different leaves. So I'm kind of showing you here like a regular leaf. And then when it turns to the side, you kind of get this little side view of part of it as well. And yeah, I'm just kind of showing you a couple of different ways here. So yeah, so we again, like we could go into more detail and I could kind of sketch some of those out, but yeah, I think it's just nice to kind of like take a leaf, or even just cut a piece of paper into a leaf and then start bending it different ways, and kind of seeing how those curves kind of move around as well. And you can just have, again, like a practice sketch like these, just little quick things to kind of look at the different ways that it. So you can see here that I just kind of quickly sketched in that second area there, putting in a couple of the flowers, again just getting a feel for what the flower looks like. So you can see here that I've pulled out this little fairy horn, this part of the flower, and I'm just painting that and sketching that on its own. This is something botanical artists do a lot, so we're not getting as detailed as botanical illustration. We're kind of leaving it on a little bit more of a painterly note. But yeah, it is nice to kind of look at different parts of the flower. Like you could just pull off a leaf if you wanted and just paint that. Just a petal on its own. So you can see here again, I'm using this tiny paintbrush. Winsor Newton has a really nice Botanical series, which I'll find and link below. And also I'll put the colours and things that I'm using there below, but you can kind of see on my palette there it's kind of an ultramarine violet mixed in with like a little bit of a pink, maybe like a little bit of an Isero rose or a mauve or something like that. And again, we're just going step by step. So we're starting with the flowers here. We're kind of putting those in first, so then we can kind of see what else to put in and kind of start to add all those little spikes. You can see that I have the flower there, just kind of looking at it and looking at the color as well. So one thing that's nice to have something in front of you that you can kind of look at that color. You can color swatch and kind of see if you've got, you know, something that is closer to the color, or, you know, how you want to kind of portray that as well. So I'm just putting in now some of these dark purple spikes. So I'm using a little bit of Daniel Smith Luna Violet and the Purpurite, and it's kind of like a dusty mauvey purple as well. So yeah, I just find this quite nice, and you can see that these also dry a little bit lighter, so I go over them again, just especially at the tips here, just to really kind of make those stand out. You could see like on the flower there that the tips kind of quite stood out in this kind of purpley colour. And then I start putting in some of the brighter parts of the leaves here. So I'm actually using Sennelier Emerald Green, which is quite a vibrant green, but I find that I like to kind of layer some of these colours into it. You could see there that I'm just also then grabbing some of the more muted like mixes from my just palette. And yeah, on the flower on the right I use this green, and then on the one on the left I don't. I use kind of a deeper, I think just more of the Perylene green, and you'll see the difference at the end when you kind of build it up with a little bit of that brightness. So you can see that I'm building the leaves in layers again, and I've let the first layer dry, then I'm adding on a glaze of a deeper and deeper colour, and then I'm going back, and I feel like the flower, this was not as full as the one in real life, and then I realised that the stem has actual little kind of spikes, or like little tiny kind of hairy parts coming from the stem, making it a little bit wider and fuller. And you can see that kind of once you put that in, you've got that feeling of the plant that's just like there's this whole little ball of something going on there that you're not quite sure. But yeah, so versus like this one that I'm just showing you, that's tiny little slender stem, these ones, you know, the stem actually looks quite full. So I used a bit of Blue John there to, it's just a soft neutral. So sorry. But, so next thing we're doing is the Strawberry Clover. This is, again, very similar, but like a simplified version. So we just have the one kind of ball-like shape with these kind of little, well, they're a bit softer than spikes, but that is kind of, there's quite pointed, elongated shapes that come out from there, and then there's like this gradient of the pink at the bottom going up to more of a white, more of a whitey green with just the one stem there, and some sort of little, again, very similar flower leaves. So again, you can see that I'm starting with the colour and putting in sort of the actual little kind of petal parts. So I put in a softer wash, and then I'm putting in some more like a deeper kind of detailing around that as well. And so just going around like adding these little bits, building it again bit by bit. You can see I've sped this up here because it just does take quite a little bit of time. And then towards the top there, I just more really watered that out and started to mix the pink with a little bit of like Sedona or something. You can see for these the stem and these leaves, I'm going with like a more of a yellow green. So yeah, even just changing up the colour for the leaves really helps to kind of delineate, like show different flowers. When you go outside, one of the nice things is there's green everywhere, but it's always slightly different. So I really like that about painting with green. And then you can see here that in between these, I'm now going in and putting this kind of green that's, you can kind of see that in between. So again, you could do this first, but I like to do this second and kind of overlap it a little bit, blur out some of the bottoms of some of these petal things, and yeah, just kind of pop that in there. So the next thing that we're going to do is this white meadow anemone. So this is a really pretty flower for the, see like how slender the stem is there. So and the leaves, the petals, even though they're kind of a regular shape, there's like 5 petals, but I'll just show you here the way that they actually have this tiny little curve to help them look a little bit more elegant. So like this is a regular petal, but you can see that these ones sort of come in just slightly. They're tapered in a little bit at the kind of base towards the center, and it just creates such a pretty and just a slightly elegant way that this petal is formed. So I think that's really important, just to think about these kind of slight little details. So if we want to do this on the side, the back petal here is shortened a little bit and widened a little bit. And then the kind of petals that you can see on the side are lengthened a little bit, and they're a bit sort of slimmer. And then we kind of can start putting like a little bit of those side curves in. And then here again, these ones are shortened with like this little curve at the kind of at the edge there. So you can see I've taken this one out to the side and kind of made that curve a little bit shorter and a little bit like longer to the side there. And then again, just all the little speckles in the middle there. So when we're painting a white flower, I mean, there's a few different ways you can do it, and one is to paint the background, so kind of the white of the petals will stand out, but I didn't really want to do that here, so I've just used really watered down kind of, basically I just used whatever was on my palette that looked fairly neutral, so anything kind of neutral, and just a nice watery wash of that. And then a little bit darker on, you can see here I'm just adding in the green in the center, and then it comes to some really pretty like lemon yellow speckles around that. So yep, you'll see what I mean here in a minute. Here we go. So this is kind of just somewhere on my palette that's quite a neutral mix. I have got quite a bit of water in this mix. And then I'm just going to go through, you can see here I even take out some more, I think even more than this, I kind of wipe it again and add a little bit more water onto the brush, but I'm just trying to get some of this veination in very subtly to kind of show these white petals. I don't want to put too much colour on, so just looking for little tiny bits of kind of shadow and shaping here to kind of just at least show these petals. So you can see from the footage that while I was letting that base layer of petals dry, I was working on this stem and the leaves here, but then I did kind of put all the petal parts together just to show you that all together. So yeah, so I'm also kind of looking at these leaves again, and the stem. The stem was quite a light, bright green, very yellow green, and then the leaves were a little bit darker. So again, I'm starting with a soft base and also some mixes of different greens. So I try and kind of mix a little bit of something different every time I put the base layer down. And then I'm just going into kind of either the shadow parts or the under parts of the leaves, and yeah, just building that up. I'll show you something in a later flower that's a little bit more easy to understand what I'm doing here, but basically I'm picking out the like the central veins and kind of the parts of the flower, and I'm leaving those lighter, and I'm actually sort of using the negative space to paint darker into. Then I go in here and I'm just darkening up like one side of the stem here basically, but I still want to keep that really delicate, very slender stem. So okay, so we're on to our fifth flower. This is a really nice little one. The bees love it, and it's just really nice to see kind of out and about, kind of swaying in the breeze. So this doesn't have like a hugely difficult, structure, but it's just kind of this U shape at the bottom. You add some browns, some neutrals, and maybe tinge them with a little bit of purple or a little bit of pink. And then very much like a sage green for the top, and kind of try and angle things in a little bit of a different way. Okay, so we're on to is this our 6th flower? This is evening primrose. So this is this is the fleabane, but you can see I was just trying to get that little kind of spiral shape that it was doing. So anyway, this is our flower. This is evening primrose, and you can see this yellow. It's almost like a fluorescent, like it's a stoplight or like a stop sign. It is so vibrant. So you see it from like across the lawn. And yeah, I suppose if it's got medicinal properties or something like that, it's very easy to spot. But you can see I've got the circle here, and then I've just kind of divided it up into this kind of diamond shape, these 4 quarters, and then I'm just putting these kind of frills on the outside of the petals here, and it's quite a simple flower like this to create. You have these kind of striations or like this linear detail in the petals, so it's almost like it's debossed in these linear shapes. And then you have these little just these little parts here, and yeah, basically that's it. So it's a fairly nice one to make. And then I like to put little shadows as well of the stamen there. I just think it helps like bring that form out, and it also helps with like it's nice to add that little extra bit of colour. But you could see it there next to the meadow anemone. And yeah, so I drew it like that, but then I decided for the kind of format and the layout of this page that I would take the flower kind of from the side view. I thought it was really interesting, like these little parts where the pod where the flower comes out of as well, it kind of sits at the side of the flower there. So I think this is the only one where I kind of sketched a different viewpoint of it, but you can see this shot of it somewhere, I think, in the video, and you can just sketch that out using all the steps that we've talked about. But you can see here that to start the flower, I put this pale wash of yellow all over the flower, and then I started to kind of add in. So this is basically just lemon yellow, and I'm kind of adding in some of these details, and I'm leaving space and room there for the shadow portion. So there'll be like some kind of darker colors that we put in. You can see I've also kind of mixed up a bit of like this olive green, like a sap green there. And again, I'm kind of going around the veination and just adding little parts of the leaves there. So again, slightly different color than the actual leaf, but I just liked it on the page. And then you can see here that like I'm kind of putting in around the leaves, there was this little bit of kind of burgundy, which was also really interesting. And then down the stem, again, it had like those hair-like parts that just make that stem a little bit fuller and a little bit thicker looking. So I like to just put them in very faintly. Yeah, and then just again, like going back in with some more detailing on these little pods. They were so interesting. Like this whole flower was a very interesting one. It only has the 4 petals, but it's quite a full flower and quite like a very strong statement of a flower. So again here I'm mainly using the Wallace and Seymour Blue John. It's kind of, they call it like a lilac sort of coloured grey. So it's a really beautiful soft neutral. So you can see Millie there. She found a little friend one morning. And yeah, so that was the evening primrose. And then now we're going to do these foxgloves. So this is our second to last flower. And you can see here that this is my sketchbook where I just kind of roughly sketch things out when I'm just kind of sitting there. So this whole kind of page took me a few weeks of kind of bringing the flowers in, just sitting there. I might sketch them out kind of roughly and kind of just think about the colours and things in that other sketchbook, and then I'll come back into this page and kind of decide where to put things on the page. So again, you can see here these are wild foxgloves, so they're not any kind of special, but I love like the leaves there. They're not that, they don't have like a necessarily, they're not that tall, and they don't have like a super special colouring or anything, but they were just so lovely kind of in this little shaded area under this big tree. So again, you can see like I'm looking at the shape of the leaves there. I also really wanted to paint these, but there was just so much detail in those. But yeah, so here we go. So it's fairly simple if you kind of, again, simplify it. We've got the stem that's like a hook shape, and then we come down and we just start kind of adding these in. So I'm doing kind of 3 little prongs there for the top, and like a little kind of bell shape underneath, like and so I'm doing just 3 of those, so 2 on each side, and then 1 in kind of the center there. And then starting to go down, we're going to add more. So again, like some of these 3 prong things, and then a little bit of a longer petals there for the flowers. And often they had like a little tiny leaf just kind of on the other side there. So I popped that in, and yeah, there would be like just kind of half of a flower. So I'm just showing you how this shape kind of goes for these kind of bell-like portions. So okay, so then you can see kind of just going around the stem here and creating these little 3 tops, and then creating the bell shape. It's basically kind of an oval at the bottom of the bell shape, but on the flowers, there's got a little bit more like shape to it, a bit more angular. And you can see here that I'm also putting some of them sort of across the stem. It always helps to overlap things. Okay, so again, I'm starting the flower with just sort of what is at the front, so what is closest to you. So that would be the little green parts on the top of the like actual flower part. So, and then I'm also kind of mixing some of these kind of more yellow greens, like quite a almost fluorescent color, like the flower, when you kind of see it there in the sun, it looks quite fluorescent. So I'm taking that into account. I've put like it's quite a pale wash of lemon yellow with just a tinge of green in there. And yep, you can see that I'm just kind of adding things in here. I'm not really waiting for one thing to dry. I'm just kind of starting to put everything together. So the first little flowers I wanted to be more yellow, and then there was another stem that we picked, but I didn't have time to video it, and it was a little bit more peachy like this. So I am just kind of combining those 2 colors and popping that kind of peach in, yeah. So I'm mixing this peach colour with a bit of the pyrrole orange and the incarnate number 1, and then you could see that for kind of the parts, the oval shapes at the bottom, and I wanted it to have a little bit more of a shadowy effect, so I mixed in a slight bit of the green to neutralize it a little bit. So red and green are opposites, and it's kind of a split complementary opposite. And then I'm going back in, once that's dry, I'm going back in with French ochre here and just adding in these kind of little details. So I don't really have like a good recipe for this. It's just kind of little bits and pieces of spots and kind of U shapes and just a few different things. And then I'm going back in with a bit more of this kind of green and just adding those details again. So it always helps to just go back and kind of add a few details on top. Glazing is often what brings like your piece to life as well. So here I'm just getting a little bit more of that peach color and in a bit of a darker saturation, so it's not got as much water. And I'm just putting in a little bit of these lines here because you could kind of see that on the bell shapes it's almost got sort of an angular shape as well. And then I kind of showed you when I was shading this in, but the way that I am kind of leaving the veins and then kind of putting those negative shapes in around it. So I just kind of painted that in. And then this is our, or is this our second last flower? I've been one off, but so this is our second last flower. This is the privet. It's called something border privet. And again, it's almost like a little version of the foxgloves. So, but we have just kind of these little bell shapes, but they've got like 3 little points at the bottom of them. They're almost more like little trumpets or something like that. I think every time I went to grab some, I was calling it little angels' trumpets. So here is the kind of leaves again, which is interesting, like this different shape of the leaves. And again, I'm kind of showing you like the shading in those parts in between the veins. I'm just kind of doing that quickly, but these have quite a pretty and kind of just a round shape. And then I'm trying to sketch a few different, you might be able to hear the thunder. It's been so hot here all week and we've just finally gotten a storm in. So so just kind of overlapping those leaves again, and just quite a sweet and quick little flower to draw. So I'm going in again with like a lighter, brighter version for the leaves here. And then for these ones, I kind of show you the opposite to what I've been doing. So I kind of paint in the veination, and I'm kind of showing you that the reason why I do it the opposite way. And because if you just kind of paint that and then paint this in, it can look a little bit sort of cartoony. So I kind of try and leave this part that I'm painting now pale and paint around these parts to give the leaf a little bit more body. So hopefully that makes sense. At any rate, I can do another whole video on this and kind of explain it a bit slower and more fully. I wasn't really going to do leaves on this page, but yeah, just kind of, I thought they kind of looked nice. You can see here as well that sometimes when I'm using my brush, it gets kind of like out of control, like the bristles start to get splayed, and so I like to twirl it like that when I'm picking up colour to kind of put it back into shape as well, like twirl it on your palette when you're picking up the colour, and it reshapes it again. So yep, I'm just kind of getting some of those neutrals, putting that in the bottom of the bell shape, getting a little bit of the greens, putting it in the top. And then I've kind of decided to brighten up the kind of white mix for the flower, just with a tiny bit of yellow as well. Okay, so I spent a good day debating whether or not to paint this. I really wanted to put it in, but you can see here like how many little, like it's just so detailed. So I was kind of against that. And then I saw these little tiny simple flowers, but that pop of color, this like cobalt violet, was just perfect and kind of finished off the page in a really bright and nice way. So I've just popped these sweet little flowers in to finish it off. This is a type of dianthus. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, just a really pretty little flower. There was only a few of them out there, and yeah, just something really sweet and nice to finish. Okay, so I left the page here for a couple of days. I thought we were done with the video, but as I kind of looked at it, I really wanted to add some labels in, and kind of some vintage style labels, just to kind of remember all the flowers. So I sketched those in, and then we'll paint them together as well now. So it was actually quite hard to get this page into the shot and kind of show you. It's quite vibrant and lovely, but I also added this little egg. We found, I think it's either a barn swallow or a song sparrow egg. We have kind of both nesting around here, but just a really lovely little tiny kind of barely blue egg with speckles. And then also there was a butterfly, a beautiful little, I keep seeing them everywhere, like these little kind of, they look kind of white, but when you see the footage of one up close, it's got like little tiny bits of mint green and aqua. So really stunning. And yeah, we might also do a whole video on some butterflies because we've had some really lovely ones. But yeah, I do have an old video on painting an egg and also a butterfly, so I thought we won't sort of go into that too much in this video, and we may do some more like coming up. But yeah, let me know what you guys are like interested in, you know, more of. Like, I'm not sure, but I think that about wraps everything up. I hope you've had a lovely couple of weeks. It's been so hot here. I don't know if anyone else is in like the heat, but yeah, Millie is just not having it. She is not loving it at all. She is loving the flowers, and you can see here the little butterfly. It's been so interesting watching all the butterflies. Like, we've had some monarchs, red emperors, and just all kinds, and how quick they are. Like, they get across the, I don't know, they go so quick, but like, I have no idea what air currents they're on. They get there, but they are like going from here to there to here to there, just in this incredibly like almost erratic pattern. Yeah, it's just really interesting, probably so that the birds don't get them, but yeah, very interesting. So this is, I'm going to show you kind of a little sneak peek of what we're going to do next week. So this is a journal we did also make on the channel, an art journal, and I had a request quite a while ago to do kind of a video like this, but I just haven't had the right inspiration, I guess. And so I think this will be really nice to, I'm kind of coming up to showing you where, what we're going to do. But yeah, I loved making this journal and using this journal. We have videos on quite a few of these things, but this particular page I got a request for. And so kind of mixing the transparent florals with the graphite, and then also this gilding and the kind of 3D flowers. So I want to do that a little bit better. This was just really quick. I had some papers on my desk or something, I can't really remember, but I just quickly kind of put that together as a thought. But yeah, we'll do something like that next. We may even put a bit of texture paste on. But yeah, so something exciting like that, maybe some collage, and yeah, just something kind of to play. It's quite nice. Like, I really enjoy doing that kind of a bit more studious painterly work, and then just really having an enjoyable kind of play and working, like just relaxing into things that you've worked on. So yeah, have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Bye.